a shalom. Hope you're doing very well. Let's finish something. Something special. Who is like a wise one? And who knows the meaning of a matter? Anyone? A man's wisdom makes his face shine, and the hardness of his face it's changed. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my brothers and my sisters, my mashpaka. Welcome back to another episode of Let There Be Light. My name's Brian, if you're new, and on today's episode we are concluding, finishing, finaleing, putting a wrap on the wisdom of Solomon. Solomon was the king of Israel, King David's son. He prayed for wisdom extensively. And well, he's got quite a few books, chock full of it. This will be chapters 16 through 19 to conclude. So, I hope you've gotten something out of these reads. I pray the Father's with you. I pray His Ruach is guiding you. And that if you've asked, that may you have received. All through Yahushua, Mashiach. Okay. Chapter 16. Therefore, by the like, they were punished worthily, and by the multitude of beasts tormented, instead of which punishment, dealing graciously with your own people, you prepared for them meat of a strange taste, even quails to stir up their appetite, to the end that they, desiring food, might for the ugly sight of the beasts sent among them loathe even that which they must needs desire. But these, suffering penury for a short space, might be made partakers of a strange taste. Penury. Penury is extreme poverty or destitution. So, speaking of the quail here, I can only attribute that to the multitude wandering in the wilderness. So, extreme poverty and destitute. No home. Continued wanderings. Only living off of your faith. Anyways, for it was requisite that upon them exercising tyranny should come penury, poverty or destitution, which they could not avoid, But to these it should only be shown how their enemies were tormented. For when the horrible fierceness of beasts came upon these, and they perished with the stings of crooked serpents, your wrath endured not forever. But they were troubled for a small season, that they might be admonished, having a sign of Yahshua, salvation. To put them in remembrance of the commandment of your Torah. For he that turned himself toward it was not saved by the thing that he saw, but by you, that are the Savior of all. And in this you made your enemies confess that it is you who deliver from all evil. For then the biting of grasshoppers and flies killed, neither was there found any remedy for their life, for they were worthy to be punished by such. But your sons, not the very teeth of venomous dragons, overcame, for your mercy was ever by them, and healed them. For they were pricked, that they should remember your words, and were quickly saved, that not failing into deep forgetfulness, that might be continually mindful of your goodness, for it was neither herb nor mollifying plaster that restored them to health, but your word, O Yahweh, which heals all things. For you have power of life and death. You lead the gates of Sheol and bring up again to the gates of Sheol, A man indeed kills through his malice, and the Ruach, when it has gone forth, returns not, neither the soul received up comes again. But it is not possible to escape your hand, for the wicked that denied to know you were scourged by the strength of your arm, and the strange rains, hails, and showers were they persecuted, that they could not avoid, and through fire were they consumed. For which is most to be wondered at? The fire had more force in the water that quenches all things, for the world fights for the righteous. For some time the flame was mitigated, that it might not burn up the beasts that were sent against the wicked, but themselves might see and perceive that they were persecuted with the judgment of Elohim. And that another time it burns even in the midst of water, above the power of fire, that it might destroy the fruits of an unjust land. Instead whereof you fed your own people with angels' food, and did send them from heaven bread prepared without their labor, able to content every man's delight, and agreeing to every taste. For your substance declared your sweetness unto your children, and serving to the appetite of the eater, tempered itself to every man's liking. But snow and ice endured the fire, and melted not, that they might know that the fire burning in the hail and sparkling in the rain did destroy the fruits of the enemies. But this again did even forget his own strength, that the righteous might be nourished. For the creature that serves you, who are the Maker, increases his strength against the unrighteous for the punishment, and abates his strength for the benefit of such as put their trust in you. Therefore, even then was it altered into all fashions, and was obedient to your grace that nourishes all things, according to the desire of them that had need, that your children, O Yahweh, whom you love, might know that it is not the growing of the fruits that nourishes man, but it is your word which preserves them that put their trust in you. For that which was not destroyed of fire, being warned with a little sunbeam, soon melted away, that it might be known that we must prevent the sun to give you thanks. And at the day spring pray unto you. For the hope of the unthankful shall melt away as the winter's hoar frosts, and shall run away as an unprovable water. So, my lovely wife, Christine, has highlighted a bunch of things. I'd like to go over those. But your sons not the very teeth of venomous dragons overcame, but your mercy was ever by them and healed them. So, who he calls his, many are called, few are chosen. He heals. He heals them to a degree to where they're a perfect working vessel for a very special moment. And when all things are renewed, then all things are renewed. For it was neither herb nor mollifying plaister that restored them to health, but it was your word that heals all things. It strengthens it. It gives it new hope. Renewed hope. Angel's food. The manna. He feeds his with the food. You know? You have to accept it, though. That your children, O Yahweh, whom you love, might know that it is not the growing of fruits that nourishes man. The food, the meat, the enjoyment of life. But it is your word that preserves them, that put their trust in you. So he is our strength. He is our guiding light when we are weak. And he is love, patience, 17. For great are your judgments, and cannot be expressed. Therefore, unnurtured souls have erred. For when unrighteous men thought to oppress the holy nation, they, being shut up in their houses, the prisoners of darkness, and fettered with the bonds of all the long night, lay there exiled from an eternal providence. For while they supposed to lie hid in their secret sins, they were scattered under a dark veil of forgetfulness, being horribly astonished and troubled with strange apparitions. For neither might the corner that held them keep them from fear, but noises as of waters falling down sounded about them, and sad visions appeared unto them with heavy countenances. No power of the fire might give them light, neither could the bright flames of the stars endure to lighten that horrible night. Only there appeared unto them a fire kindled of itself, very dreadful. For being much terrified, they thought the things which they saw to be worse than the sight they saw not. As for the illusion of art magic, they were put down, and their vaulting in wisdom was approved with disgrace. For they that preserved and drived away terrors and troubles from a sick soul were sick themselves of fear, worthy to be laughed at. For though no terrible thing did fear them, yet being scared with beasts that passed by and hissing of serpents, they died for fear, denying that they saw the air, which could of no side be avoided. For wickedness, condemned by their own witness, is very timorous, and being pressed with continence, for being pressed with conscience, always forecast grieving things. For fear is nothing else but a betraying of the helps which reason offers. For fear is nothing else but betraying of the helps which reason offers. And the expectation from within, being less, counts the ignorance more than the cause which brings the torment. But they, sleeping, the same sleep that night, which was indeed intolerable, and which came upon them out of the bottoms of the inevitable Sheol, were partly vexed with monstrous apparitions, and partly fainted, their heart failing them. For a sudden fear, and not looked for, came upon them. And then whosoever there fell down was straitly kept, shut up in a prison without iron bars. For whether he were husbandman, or shepherd, or a laborer in the field, he was overtaken, and endured necessity, which could not be avoided. For they were all bound with one chain of darkness. Whether it would be a whistling wind, or a melodious noise of birds among the spreading branches, or a pleasing fall of water running violently, or a terrible sound of stones cast down, or a running that could not be seen, or a skipping beast, or a roaring voice of the most savage wild beasts, or a rebounding echo from the hollow mountains, these things made them to swoon for fear. For the whole world shined with clear light, and none were hindered in their labor. Over them only was spread a heavy night, an image of that darkness which should afterward receive them. But yet were they unto themselves more grievous than the darkness. Pretty crazy. Sounds like the worst dream in the world. So, highlight review here, chapter 17. For great are your judgments and cannot be expressed. Therefore, unnurtured souls have erred. For when unrighteous men thought to oppress the holy nation, they being shut up in their houses, the prisoners of darkness, and fettered with the bonds of a long night, lay there, exiled from eternal providence, being plagued with strange apparitions, the illusion of an art magic. For fear is nothing else but, I love this one, for fear is nothing else but a betraying of the helps of which reason offers. And there was a president of our United States, it was quite some time ago, that said, we have nothing to fear. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. I beg to add, with Yahweh, there is no fear. I don't mean to be brash. The bottoms of inevitable Sheol came monstrous apparitions. This is what they saw. So, Chapter 18. Nevertheless, your Kodashim, saints, those who are set apart. If you look into a couple of lines in Revelation, it says, those that keep the commandments and have the testimony of the Messiah. Kodashim. Had a very great light, whose voice they hearing, and not seeing their shape, because they also had not suffered the same things, they counted them happy. But for they that did not hurt them now, of whom they had been wronged before, they thanked them, and besought them pardon for that they had been enemies. Instead, whereof you gave them a burning pillar of fire, both to be a guide of the unknown journey, and a harmless sun, to the entertain them honorably. For they were worthy to be deprived of light and imprisoned in darkness, who had kept your sons shut up, by whom the incorrupt light of the Torah was to be given unto the world. And when they had determined to slay the babies, the Kodashim, one child being cast forth and saved to reprove them, you took away to the multitude of the children and destroyed them altogether in the mighty water. This reminds me of Exodus. Of that night where our fathers certified afore, that assembly knowing unto what oaths that they had given credence, they might afterwards be of good cheer. So of your people was accepted both the Yashuo, salvation, of the righteous, and destruction of the enemies. For wherewith you did punish our adversaries, by the same you did glorify us whom you had called. For the righteous children of good men did sacrifice secretly, and with one consent made a holy law, that the Kodashim should be like partakers of the same good and evil, the fathers now singing out the songs of praise. But on the other side, there sounded an ill accordance cry of the enemy, and a lamentable noise was carried abroad for the children that were bewailed. The master and the servant were punished after one manner, and like as the king, so suffered the common person. So they all together had innumerable dead, with one kind of dead. Neither were the living sufficient to bury them. For in one moment the noblest offspring of them was destroyed. For whereas they would not believe anything by reason of the enchantments upon the destruction of the firstborn, they acknowledged this person, this people, to be the sons of Alhim. For while all things were in quiet silence, and that night was in the midst of her swift course, your almighty word leapt down from heaven out of your royal throne as a fierce man of war into the midst of the land of destruction. Mitzrayim, and brought your unfeigned commandment as a sharp sword, and standing up filled all things with death, and it touched the heaven, but it stood upon the earth. Thus suddenly visions of horrible dreams troubled them sore, and terrors came upon them, unlooked for. And one thrown here and another there, half dead, shone the cause of his death. For the dreams that troubled them did pursue this, lest they should perish, and not know why they were afflicted. Yea, the tasting of the death touched the righteous also, and there was a destruction of the multitude in the wilderness, but the wrath endured not long. For the blameless man made haste and stood forth to defend them, and bring the shield of his proper ministry, even prayer, and the propitiation of incense, set himself against the wrath, and so brought the calamity to an end, declaring that he was your servant. So he overcame the destroyer, not with strength of body, nor fierce of arms, but with a word, subdued. It subdued him that punished, alleges the oath and the covenants made with the fathers. Patriarchs. For when the dead were now fallen down by heaps upon one upon another, standing between, he stayed the wrath and parted the way to the living. For in the long garment was the whole world, and in the 4 rows of the stones was the glory of the fathers graven, in your majesty upon the diadem of his head. Unto these the destroyer gave place, and was afraid of them, for it was enough that they only tasted of the wrath. So, chapter 18 review. There's really only one little highlight, but it's a good one. For they were worthy to be deprived of light and imprisoned in darkness, who had kept your sons shut up, by whom the incorrupt light of the Torah was to be given unto the world. So, blessed is he that, or she, or whoever that blesses you. And cursed is he that curses you. May they repent. May they learn love. And may we all love in the end. But, for they were worthy to be destroyed, deprived of light, and imprisoned in darkness, who had kept your sons shut up. Cursed. Last chapter. I hope you've enjoyed these. I've enjoyed reading them to you. Took a little while, sorry, but life. And however you may be living, I hope it's very well. I hope it's full of glory from the Father. If you were to do anything, do it for Him, and you will be righteously rewarded. 19. As for the wicked, wrath came upon them without mercy unto the end, for he knew before what they would do, how they, having given them leave to depart, and sent them hastily away, they would repent and pursue them. For while they were yet mourning and making lamentation at the graves of the dead, they added another foolish device, and pursued them as fugitives, whom they had entreated to be gone. For the destiny whereof they were worthy drew them unto this end, and made them forget the things that had already happened, that they might fulfill the punishment which was wanting to their torments, and that your people might pass a wonderful way, but they might find a strange death. For the whole creature in his proper kind was fashioned again anew, serving the peculiar commandments that were given unto them, that your children might be kept without hurt, as namely a cloud shadowing a camp, and where water stood before, dry land appeared, and out of the Red Sea a way appeared impediment, and out of the violent stream a green field. Where though all the people went that were defended with your hand, seeing your marvelous strange wonders, For they went a large like horses and leapt like lambs, praising you, O Yahweh, who had delivered them. For they were yet mindful of the things that were done while they sojourned in the strange land, how the ground brought forth flies instead of cattle, and how the river cast up a multitude of frogs instead of fish. But afterwards they saw a new generation of fowls, when being led with their appetites, they asked for delicate meats. For quails came upon them from the sea for their contentment, and punishments came upon the sinners, not without former signs by the force of thunders, for they suffered justly according to their own wickedness, for much so as they used a more hard and hateful behavior towards strangers. For the sodomy did not receive those whom they knew not when they came, but these brought friends into bondage that had well deserved of them. And not only so, but perchance some respect shall be had of those, because they use strangers not friendly. But these very grievous afflicted them, whom they had received with feastings, and were already made partakers of the same laws with them. Those who sojourn with you. We'll get to that. Therefore, even with blindness were these stricken, as those were at the doors of the righteous man, when being compassed about with horrible great darkness, everyone sought the passage of his own doors. For the elements were changed in themselves by a kind of harmony, like as in sultry notes change the name of the tune, yet are always just sounds, which may well be perceived by the sight of the things that have been done. For earthly things were turned into watery, and the things that were before swam in water now went upon the ground. The fire had power in the water, forgetting its own virtue, and the water forgot its own quenching nature. On the other side, the flames wasted not the flesh of the corruptible living things, though they walked therein, neither melted they the icy kind of the heavenly meat that was nature apt to melt. For in all things, O Yahweh, you did magnify your people and glorify them. Neither did you lightly regard them, but did assist them in every time and place. So, a light little review of that last chapter. A couple things actually poked out to me. For the whole creature in his proper kind was fashioned again anew, serving the peculiar commandments that were given unto them, that your children might be kept without hurt. He has instructions for our benefit. It's as simple as that. And if you know that you are all knowing about you and what is good for you, May you remember that pride the next time you're down. For quails came up upon them from the sea for their contentment, so that they could be content. And punishments came upon the sinners, not without former signs by the force of thunders, for they suffered justly according to their own wickedness. I believe it's in Numbers. They asked for meat. Where are the leeks, the vegetables, the melons? Where is our sweet meat? Merciful Yah gave them quail from the sky. I believe it states that without the slightest giving of any thanks, they gobbled it up like animals. I believe it also states they were punished for that. For sodomy, the Sodomim, did not receive those whom they knew not when they came, but these brought friends into bondage, and had well deserved of them. And not only so, but perchance some respect shall be had of those, because they used strangers, not friendly. Well, just look at my, just check out my Sodom and Gomorrah video. There's quite a few chapters in the book of Yashar that talks extensively about their dealings with strangers of the land. But these very grievously afflicted them, whom they had received with feastings, and were already made partakers of the same laws with them. Lot was a righteous man, living in a city of sin. So, those who sojourn with you shall be under the same commands that you govern yourself with. Much sin was had in that city. Anyways, the last line here. For in all things, O Yahweh, you did magnify your people and glorify them. Neither did you lightly regard them, but did assist them in every time and place. I believe he still does this. If you've accepted the Messiah into your heart, you are justified to be his. May we all have love. May we all have love amongst ourselves and level up every day. Learn something new. Gain wisdom So, much love and shalom. I will be back very soon. Lights out.